Hello CoHmmunity, it's GB Pirate here once again. This time I'm reviewing the information for participants document for the Company of Heroes CoHtography competition. And this document, really important if you're a map maker, a little bit important if you're a judge, and for most people, doesn't really matter. But yeah, so this is just details on how to submit your map, the rules for judges, and then the feedback and update process, and then other kind of miscellaneous information. But if you watch this video, I'm going to go over the document, probably word by word, and then you can also reference this whenever you need to, coming back to things. Yeah, so anyway, let's get started. So, I guess the biggest change is that this competition isn't anonymous. So things are pretty straightforward, but nevertheless, I still wanted to outline kind of the process and how things should work. And then judges, you should review section 4, the second to last section. And that's just, once again, things are straightforward. But if you weren't a judge last time, or maybe you didn't get around to scoring the maps at the end, and you're interested now, listen now. Maybe in like 5.5 months from now, watch this again. But yeah, so let's get started. So as I noted in the announcement, maps aren't required to be 100% done when they're submitted, but there are some bare minimums that I'd like to see, just so we can kind of get an idea of just stuff where we can give some feedback. So the big thing is a territory layout. We want to look at your territory layout, where your cutoffs are, where your VPs, fuel, all that stuff. And then important or indestructible flow elements. So this isn't going to cover necessarily everything. Like, we don't need a whole row of hedges around the outside of your map as the border, but within the combat area, where are you putting big rocks? Where are you putting hedges? Where are you putting buildings, high walls? And then the height map painting would be like, where is there going to be a height bonus, if at all. Another thing, player count and map size. So your 2P, 4P, 6 player, 8 player, etc. What are the sizes of your terrain size, your playable area, and your core area? And again, this is all stuff you can see in the style guide for explanations. Other elements like green cover, splat and strip components textures, and then messages, which are a little thing you can put into the editor that kind of just plop it into a spot and there's a floating text. This stuff isn't needed, but maybe you can have a little palette of some textures you think you might want to use, a palette of some strip component splines, and some splats that you want to use. Not super important, but again, it's helpful. It might help. You could maybe paint a little area to see what the art might look like, but at this stage, it's really about kind of gameplay basics, and then maybe just establishing a couple of themes, things like that. Yeah, and there should be some indication of how the map will create distinct regions, or what you intend them to be. So, are you going to have a kind of classic crossroads, quadrant layout? Are you having like a beach, a town, and a hill? Are you having like ruins in one area, farming in another, and then like a light urban area? Like, just give us some indication. That could be obvious. How you do that is, I guess, up to you, whether you want to do it in writing a message to me in Discord that I'll then put in the map post, something you'll write in the post yourself when you're kind of submit your map. Just some way to tell that it isn't all going to be just farms, or like, how are you making one farm, is one side of your farm going to be ruined from a battle and the other side of your farm map is going to be untouched, or are there going to be whatever. I don't want to keep going because I'll go on all these tangents, but just some way to show that there are like regions. The map isn't going to be monotonous. The map is going to look, the thing about regions is, like, you want to be able to look at a map and then, with some familiarity with it, like say you're on, like, watching Twitch, for example, But even as a player, you look at one space and you immediately know where on the map you're oriented. Because if everything is too similar, then you'll have a hard time figuring out where on the map you are. And you might be a little confused, discombobulated for a second. And we don't want that for gameplay, especially, and secondarily also for viewers. But again, note here, all this stuff is subject to change. We get it. You're submitting a first draft. Yeah. And then uploading maps to Discord. So once you've decided your map is ready to be submitted, you'll do the following procedure. Again, kind of common sense, but I just wanted to spell it out here. So first, you upload your map to the Steam Workshop. Please make sure you have a map description ready for your work no later than at the end of the first feedback round. A bit weird putting it there, but that's kind of the basics of when you're in the game selecting your map. We want to have everything done. We want to, like I said before in the announcement video, we want your map in a finished state at the end of the first feedback period. And then also be sure to place the competition logo in the preview image of your mod. I can go over that in Discord, but it's pretty easy. You'll have access to the logos, and then it'll kind of work like the first competition where all the mini maps are on the workshop for preview images, but then you have the logo as a standard, so everyone can just very easily, clearly, visually see, yes, this is for this competition. Or if they don't know, they're like, oh, what's this? There's a competition happening? That's cool, let me check it out. The second step is to notify myself via DM the following information, which will be player size, again, your terrain size, playable area, core area, which, like I say approximate here because it's not exactly a perfect square. You want your resource layout, which is just going to be a screenshot of your mini map, and then distinct regions that might be like basic lines you draw in paint on your mini map, or it could even be a screenshot of the editor of the scenario editor window, the render window, and you just kind of draw on the paint there. Just something to make it really obvious and clear without having to read the text, but just like in an image, just to get all that information there. And then this last thing, not super relevant, but something to help make your map interesting. Kind of what was the inspiration, background details. Do you have images you were inspired by, like of landscapes, or do you have historical battles you were inspired by? Maybe it was inspired by a level or a map in a different video game, or something like that. Just whatever the inspiration is, give us something to work with, and not just, oh, it's another random farm in Italy with like a destroyed, couple of destroyed tanks in the middle. Like, give us something, where's the map coming from? The third process when you submit your map is that I'll create a channel for your map in the Co-World Builders Discord, and then I'll also make a post in this new channel I'm going to create that just will list all the submissions in one convenient place. It won't be an announcement channel, and I'll just use it for this, but it'll just be like a really quick way to see all the submissions without being too crowded or having to scroll through things. Maybe it's redundant, we'll see. But that's kind of what I've thought I wanted to do. And then the fourth step in this process of, well, it's not really in uploading your maps, but eventually after this is all together, then you're going to be getting rolling feedback. You can update whenever you want in the remainder of the submission period. But again, you should really use your maps channel in the Co-World Builders Discord as kind of the first place, the prime place to put all of your updates, ask questions for the readers, for the audience, like, hey, do you like this idea I'm working with, or whatever, or anything. Once again, there's going to be some Relic staff. I know Monolithic Bacon is interested. I'm not sure if anyone else on the team. Will provided some great feedback last year, and I think all the mappers were very grateful when Will showed up and wrote, even just a few hundred words on some feedback and advice. So be prepared for that too. And then once we end the submission period on March 2nd, we're into the feedback rounds. How this is going to work is that there will be 2 or 3. Again, this is dependent on you guys, the mappers, dependent on the judges. What are we feeling? What are we thinking? What are people's schedules like? Maybe I'll be really busy in June. I doubt it. But yeah, I'm just leaving a little bit of wiggle room here in case anything comes up for anyone. So there's going to be these 4-week feedback rounds where the first week is all updates are paused and all judges and community members still can leave feedback on your maps when they're all in the same state. I know people are different, they have different work schedules, but a lot of people like to, I'll work on the map today and push an update today, and then I'll work on the map tomorrow, push an update tomorrow, and just kind of having a time to pause all of that and have everyone looking at the map in the same state for this 7-day period. I think that's just a good way to kind of, it's a soft deadline, but also kind of keep everyone on the same page and kind of juggle multiple players and judges' feedback at the same time and figuring out what you want to do. I just explained that here anyway. So then not scoring period. So then the 3 weeks after, so there's the 1 week of no updates and feedback, and then there's 3 more weeks where you can update whenever you want, but it's going to be kind of based on that feedback. So it's going to be kind of an iterative process. And then we'll have again, so the 5th week will be the start of the next feedback round. We'll have no updates, and then 3 more weeks of updates, and then depending on how things go, that'll either start the scoring rounds at the end of the 8 weeks, or it'll be another round of feedback, and then we'll score after. How the scoring period ends, we're going to have some time to score maps, dates, the exact duration, kind of up to see how things go. But we're going to have no map updates in the scoring period, and I could see it could be last 1 to 2 weeks at most, and then maybe another week, maybe 2, depending on schedule, how things are going, like 6 months from now, announcing the results. So and then I kind of jumped the gun a bit. So here, non-judges may have some input in the final score of maps as a kind of community vote, but I'm not sure how the best way to do it and stay fair and secure. If anyone has suggestions for things I can do, I don't really want to be collecting people's email addresses. There's also a potential where, someone could make a bunch of fake emails and submit a bunch of scores. Someone could, borrow different families' emails, just type it in and then submit a response like on a Google Sheet. So I'm really not sure what the best way to do it is. Of course there's a level where we can't really be sure. We don't have the funds or the resources or whatever to do that. But if anyone has suggestions, I'm open to it. I'm open to hearing them out. But I don't want someone to kind of sabotage kind of all the effort at the end and kind of deliberately mess up the scores. And then winners will be announced 1 to 2 weeks for me to kind of process the information, maybe harass a few judges to finish scoring the maps. Maybe I'll have to score the maps. I won't be submitting a map for the competition. I guess I should have said that before, but it's possible that I might score maps. I'd rather not. I'd rather kind of be the administrator person, just making sure everything's wheels are turning. But if it comes down to it, I'll, especially because I'm not participating, I can also be a judge and just add another number in the score, just to kind of keep things so one opinion isn't too overvalued or too overweighted, whereas in another category, I don't want to have 15 1v1 judges and then 2 4v4 judges, right? I want to have some kind of balance there. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. So, after winners are announced, I will then message the winners of any cash prizes to, send me your PayPal information, and I'll send it to you via PayPal. If there's an issue with PayPal, let me know. I think that's the easiest way for me to send funds without extra fees, without kind of PayPal taking a cut. Again, I'm not being paid anything. All the money's going to the prize pool. But PayPal is just kind of the easiest thing. Also, if anyone wants a game key, I have some leftover game keys. Nobody in the last competition wanted a game key, which makes sense. I'm giving away game keys for a game you already have. But if you have a friend, if you have a sibling, a cousin, whatever, and you want to give them a game key, I believe they're all for the base game, so there's no DLC, no pre-order bonuses, just the base game. But Co3 is still, I think, technically $60 when it's not on sale. Maybe it's $50 now, I'm not sure. but it's still if you want to, have a friend, teach a friend the game for free. You'll have a key for them if you want to take it. So it'll be first come first serve. I might offer it to some judges, or what, maybe someone is kind of a hero giving feedback all the time. We'll see how it goes, but I think I want to say 5 extra keys, maybe 4, maybe 6, somewhere around there. Okay. Sorry, this is getting long. Real quick. So, judges. So the judges for the competition will be trusted community members, experienced players, content creators, sometimes professional artists or level designers, which are also part of the community, and even some relicants. Ultimately, everyone's appointed by myself, but anyone that is interested in being a judge and think they're qualified, they can send me a message via Discord and ask, and then we can have a conversation about your background, your skill, whatever. There's no formal requirements, right? So when signing up to be a judge, I'll send you a sign-up form, and I'll just ask you which categories you'd like to judge, and then your name. It's really simple, really basic. That's it. It's just a Google form, but you're not required to submit your email or anything like that. So it's still technically anonymous, I think. Responsibilities as a judge. So it'll give your words a little extra weight when you're giving feedback in the Discord. You'll have a little, a new role, whatever. Feedback is welcome, not required. But during the feedback periods, it'd be great if you could be there. Ideally, you'd be available for at least one feedback period to score, so you can see some of the iteration on maps. So I think the first feedback period is the most important, and then scoring. And then again, because maps are allowed to be submitted early, any feedback you can give, especially as a high-ranking player or a content creator that you really like to look at maps and analyze them, feedback all the time is good, kind of like a cavalry charge. I think there's a quote in Napoleon Total War about it, but cavalry charge at any time is great for battle. And like I said here, feedback anytime, great for the map competition. I mentioned this before, scoring will be basically identical to the previous competition. Maps are scored in certain subcategories, about 60% gameplay, 40% art. There's about 100 points in total. And then the number of points a map earns is divided by the potential number of points they could earn, which comes from the number of judges that are in each category. So thus, each map effectively receives an average grade, and the highest average will be the winner of the competition, and the next highest is the runner-up, the third highest is the second runner-up, etc., etc. So, I just went over that there. This allows us to be flexible, so I don't need to have 10 judges in every category. I can have 10 1v1s, I can have 8 2v2s, I can have 12 4v4 judges, and I can have 6 3v3 judges. And as long as, we don't have 2 judges in one category or 3, having some kind of minimum there is going to make it so we have a bit of a diverse opinion informing the final score. Like I said, game will be the score will be approximately 60% gameplay, 40% art. If you're a judge and something comes up and you won't be able to score the maps, or you want to change the categories you want to score or anything else, let me know and we'll figure things out. I don't know if I think I might remove the judge role before the scoring period starts, if you confirm with me that you won't be available. But even before that, especially if you're a prominent player and you're around for the next 3.5 months, and you're around for the feedback periods, but maybe by the time we're in May, you're going to be starting a new school or starting a new job, whatever. Just let me know and we'll figure it out. Can you submit a map too if you're a judge? The answer is yes, you can, but you won't be scoring your own map. So this also lends to some flexibility. So you might have in the 1v1 category 10 judges, but on a couple of maps you might only have 9 because the judge won't score their own map. I just don't think that's fair. I think it makes sense. But also, if you're a judge, score maps fairly. Don't say, I want to give everyone a low grade so my map can be higher. Don't do that. If there's any big aberration, I guess I can investigate. But like like I said before, this is supposed to be a community effort, and even though it's technically a competition, we're trying to have the goal of like good community maps for Relic. So in that case, if we're voting on things because we want our own map to win, that's not so great. Yeah, and then these are just some quick rules for mappers and judges. Here, maximum 2 maps per person. All player counts are allowed. Maps should be original, not official Co1 or Co2 remakes, not community Co1 or Co2 remakes, not an edited version of a single player Co3 map. If it's something already published to the workshop, have it be published not earlier than May 1st. So like anything April 2024 or earlier is going to be like too old. Like I said, we want fresh maps, we want new ideas, etc. More than one person can co-create a map, but the co-creators must share with GB Pirate who's on the team when the map is submitted, and being a co-creator counts towards your 2 map limit. So you can, you can't submit 2 of your own maps and then be a collaborator with another person. There's a hard 2 limit. A quick thing: have a mod and map description when you submit when your map is finished, really. So map descriptions are required. Mod descriptions are encouraged. The mod description really saves you time when you're uploading your workshop item, because it, whenever you update your map, your mod, the description resets. But if you type in the mod description, which you can find details in the style guide or Discord, you can, or the information for map makers from last year's competition. The mod description just updates every time. That's the text that autofills that Steam description, the Steam workshop description window. Custom mini maps, they're not required and they're not encouraged. I'd rather have a uniform look. I know that the default pipeline, the default generated stylized mini maps, they're not the greatest in some cases, but I think unless you have you're better off putting the time you would into making a custom mini map into like refining the art of your map. I know that's the biggest time consumer. That's the biggest issue, is like tiling, blending the tiles, and then also kind of integrating splines, like strip component splines and splats. That's, we want the maps not just to play good, but to look good. And that blending of textures is really where a lot of the work comes in, especially in a 4v4 map where there's so much ground to cover. Please put the competition logo in your mod's preview image for maximum workshop visibility. Again, you'll all have access to these logos, and it'll just kind of go in the lower corner, left or right, whatever, it doesn't matter. And that's just to create a uniform image across the Steam Workshop, just to let people know what's happening if they aren't aware, or they immediately know, oh, this is for that new competition I heard about. Cool. Please keep map-specific feedback to the specific channel in the Co-World Builders Discord. You're more than welcome to post anywhere else. I'm not like policing you down. I'm not trying to create a monopoly or anything, but have everything in the central hub of the World Builders Discord. That'll just help the feedback process and make sure everyone's on the same page. Once again, disclaimer: Relic has the final say in deciding which maps from the competition, if any, will be incorporated into the game. Like I said before, even if the first place map is really good and really fun, for whatever reason, if Relic decides it actually doesn't meet our standards, then that's it. You get the cash prize, but but the map doesn't make it in. Let's try to avoid that as best we can. That's why, community effort. But yeah, no guarantees. And then just a last note. So each judge's score will be weighted equally. We're not going to say, Will's scoring of a map will count like for 4 times or for 2 times. It's just going to count equally. And then if there is a community vote, I'm thinking maybe I'll have the community vote count for 2. So there's some, extra weight in there where everyone, however many people vote is kind of all condensed into one score. But we're going to, have that score count as 2 or count as 3. Maybe it'll count as 20% of the final total. We'll figure it out when we get there, but that's just some things I was thinking about. And then lastly, it's just the important links here. Once again, this is standard on all the other documents. And the most important is this document hub. This has everything. It will have everything. It'll have YouTube playlists. It'll have Discord invites. It'll have map making resources. It'll have this document, the announcement document, the style guide. It'll have the logos and banners. Everything is in this document. So be sure to save that or keep it handy somehow, whatever. If you need to if you're coming back and forth to reference things for whatever reason. Yeah, that's everything. Thanks, folks. Take care. And happy mapping. Happy Company of Heroesing. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Even though this seems hopefully it doesn't seem too overwhelming, but even though it's kind of long, I just wanted to be very clear about what kind of the expectations are and how things are going to work, and just how we're going to approach the competition. So with that being said, thank you so much for sticking with me this far. And like I said, happy mapping.